Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the International Medieval Combat Federation 2016. I'm Dale Walter from the United States team, and I'm here with
Eli, the flower of chivalry from Team New Zealand.
And we're going to be announcing for you today. We're about underway with the Polearm competition. The fighters are getting ready and making their last preparations. They're explaining to the crowd right now what the rules on the poleaxe competition are.
We've actually got quite a good crowd here in Montemoro Vela, which is in beautiful Portugal right now. The weather is really good for fighting. It's nice and mild, it's not too sunny. The fighters just been getting ready, standing around for the opening ceremony, getting pumped up, shouting all the things that the nation shout at each other to sort of get themselves
shouting and singing, and everybody seems to be in a great mood today. As Eli said, the weather is beautiful here. Couldn't ask for a better day. Slight breeze, little overcast, great day for fighting.
Absolutely, absolutely. I've got quite a good crowd here as well. There's a lot of people coming to watch us all the way out here in Portugal. And watch the fighters and give them a lot of their support and their love. And thank you to all who are tuning in from home watching this right now. The fighters really appreciate it.
Absolutely. And we'd like to welcome all of you from all around the world. We have 23 countries, 22?
22 countries.
22 countries competing today from as far away as New Zealand and Africa. Other countries represented, of course, Scotland, England, Portugal. We have a Mexican team this year. I think that's the first year for them. We've got great countries from all over the world going to be fighting here.
Yeah, there's a lot of experienced teams, a lot of new teams, a lot of newcomers to the sport. There's everything to play for the entire weekend, full of fighting. It's going to be chock full of excitement. Can't wait.
Today we'll be having the singles polearm competition, both male and female, and then that'll move into the always exciting 5-on-5 competition in the melee.
Very exciting. As we said, the marshals are currently explaining rules. I believe one of them is holding a big axe, representative of what the people are about to hit each other with.
And believe me, those can hit hard. Poleaxe, I believe, is in the singles competition the most brutal. Wouldn't you agree, Eli?
Yeah, that's right, Dale. Yeah, it's certainly one of the harder fighting competitions where the armor and the fighters really have to be up to scratch because two-handed weapons are the hardest hitting weapons. They're also, contrary to popular belief, the fastest weapons sometimes. So you get hit very quickly and very hard, and you really need to know what you're doing.
Absolutely, absolutely. And there are different things allowed in each singles form. In poleaxe, you are awarded points for disarms and for strikes with the weapon. As the gentleman on the field is showing right now, you are not allowed to thrust with the weapon, however. That is a safety concern because a lot of times that could come through armor and could seriously injure a fighter.
Yeah, that's right. Thrusts are pretty much the only things that are really disallowed. Obviously, hits to all the very nice soft parts like the groin are disallowed as well because we try and be slightly chivalrous in the sport, I would like to think.
True, very true.
We do try to be nice to each other despite sort of beating each other up quite often.
Well, the thing of it is that I want to see all these people here next year, and we want to grow the sport and have people enjoy it, and it is hard for those of you that haven't done this, that are out there watching. It is probably the most physical thing most of us have ever attempted, and a lot of us come from serious sports backgrounds, but when you put on anywhere between 40 and 60 kilos of armor and are running around having people hit you with axes, maces, swords, and all the weapons are real. None of these weapons are representational, made of carbon fiber or plastic or anything like that. Those are all steel weapons. Now the edges have been blunted to 2 millimeters for safety, and we have rounded points on them so they don't punch through the armor. But like I like to tell people, they say, oh, those weapons are blunt. Yes, so is an iron bar. Do you want to get hit with one in the head?
Yeah, precisely, or a baseball bat. It's full impact weapons. It's the same as knights use. We've still got all the maces and everything that were representative of what was used back in the day. And actually, back to the point of armor, yeah, that's right, it's 30 kilos of armor. So most of our fighters, I think, come from either martial arts backgrounds or army or even endurance sports. Because I think actually HMB is a bit of an endurance sport because what they said is 3 one-minute rounds each. And doing that minute is actually a lot harder than it seems. So, because imagine you just have to sprint in an armor sort of thing for a minute and then sort of carrying all that kit around you while someone's trying to hit you. So that's
and usually are hitting you.
And usually are hitting you. And
they're usually successful. Because if you you look at the arenas that they're going to be fighting in for the singles, they aren't that big. They're about, what would you say, 4 meters, 5 meters maybe, by 5 meters possibly?
Yeah, it's sort of about 5 by 5
Yeah.
little box where you go mano a mano, and you just sort of have to hit the other guy before he hits you.
Before he hits you.
And
You know, a lot of times there is strategy, and I've had a lot of people speak to me about this and say, this just looks like a brawl. There's no strategy. It's just like a bar fight with weapons. Um, if you know what you're looking for, especially in the singles competitions and in the 5-on-5s and at the beginning of the 10-on-10s and 16s-on-16s, you'll see the other teams running set plays. I know on the American team we have draw plays and trap plays, multiple lines that we set up to try to engage the enemy, our opponent, and be successful. So it's not as random as it looks.
no, not at all. But of course, no plan survives collision with the enemy.
Exactly. As
always.
Mike Tyson used to say, everyone's got a plan until I punch them in the face.
Yes, it's especially very true here, but still, people do train for this several times a week. Take it as a serious athletic sport.
Well, you have to.
You have to, absolutely. I mean, it's a really good training imperative that someone's going to hit you really hard in a couple of weeks' time. And you're just like, oh, do you think you're going to skip the gym this week? No, I need to do this. Like, do you? Yes, I really do.
Absolutely. And a lot of our, I don't know about in New Zealand, but a lot of our guys in the United States train with CrossFit.
Yes.
Very popular, very popular. A lot of our, because, you know, the teams from New Zealand and the teams from the United States are a lot different because we have a lot more people to draw from than you have in New Zealand. And we have a lot more specialized positions on our team with, with guards and flankers and centers and things like that, where we can, we have a greater pool to draw from. I was in New Zealand last year, and I believe I counted all of your population, and I came up with 137.
Well, contrary to what you believe, New Zealand does have quite a little bit.
You're 5.5 million, right?
I believe, yeah, between 4 and 5 million.
Something like that.
It's sort of the number, sort of spread across a rather large island, but it's quite lovely, really.
It is.
There's certainly enough of people doing this kind of thing there for us to train. I'd like to think, sort of, US and New Zealand is not as far away as would like to think. I think we're quite close in spirit, and yeah, the guys do. Again, coming back to the endurance thing, things like CrossFit really build you up for those. Pushes of 1 minute, 2 minute rounds, or just give it your all for a minute and then do it all again a short period later. So sort of, it's not a marathon, it's sort of a series of sprints.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
and broken rhythm as well.
Well, and you'll notice the fighters that haven't been training as well, when we get to into the polearm fights and the other singles over the next few days, you'll see the ones that probably haven't, their training hasn't worked out as well, or they peaked early, will start to fade a little bit in the competitions. All right, we're starting to get some of our fighters out here now. But, I'm trying to see who we have. Looks like we're going to have one of the Americans, and I can't see who else, in our first list over here.
Ah, that list, I see.
Yeah, it's
the list that is
yeah,
being
the
blocked
list that
off
Eli
for me.
can't see.
We're sitting on top of a lovely little turret, by the way, in case you're wondering, with a somewhat commanding view of the battlefield, which is quite lovely. Perhaps a Belgian fighter is wandering up. Benoit over there. Maybe he's helping, maybe he's going to fight. He's a big fan of pro fights, or so I hear.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We're a little confusion out here. These events are always difficult to get moving because you have, we probably have 300 fighters here spread over multiple disciplines. And, to get the referees in position, to get the scoring people in position, and to get everything worked out, especially on the first day like this, is a little difficult of a proposition to do.
Hey, look, we're being filmed. How exciting is this?
What? As I'm adjusting my belt.
Just in case, for those of you who are wandering home, we can just about see the stream from our lovely turret, but most of all, we're just trying to sort of wander around what's going on downstairs. I think the marshal is just preparing the field, and obviously, again, speaking of all the armor, it's kind of hard to get going because you have to obviously put all your kit on, which isn't quite as straightforward as it might seem. The more experienced the fighters, the faster the procedure, but, in the olden times, you used to have a couple of squires you can sort of bully around and get things for you. these days we're a bit more sort of democratic about the process, so
Very
we'll all help
true.
each other
Yeah,
and help yourself.
Well, but there are some parts of your armor you just can't do. Most of us can put our armor on up to our waist pretty easily because our leg armor and our harnesses work in a manner that one person can do. But once we get above that, putting on your own shoulders, on your own arm pieces and things becomes a little more tricky, and that's when you need the help of your friends and teammates.
That's right, absolutely. I mean, there are some little shortcuts you can do
Report to the list
to
and
tie
stand
things up.
ready.
Ooh,
Marshall,
excitement.
report to the list and stand ready.
All right, well, it looks like we're getting going here. We have Andrew Dion, American fighter over here. Looks like he is going to be going up against one of the French fighters. Unfortunately, they have not got us a list of fighters yet, so we're going to be kind of doing the best we can to figure out who's who.
I believe he is Team Quebec.
Is he Team Quebec? Oh, he is Team Quebec. Yes,
He is
yes.
Team Quebec. He told me he is the most beautiful man from Team Quebec just several minutes earlier.
Well, let's hope he stays that way through the competition.
So we have the most beautiful Quebecian versus your
List
American
number
buddy.
1.
Yes.
Belgian
Versus
and
our about
England fighter.
145 kilo,
male Belgian
over
and
2
US
meter American Andrew
England,
Dion.
sorry.
Andrew is a
Report to
very
list
large,
number
very
1.
powerful man. He's been fighting
In list
Polearm for quite a
number
while
2,
now,
black.
and we're going to see how this goes. The American team are good friends with the Quebec team. They come to a lot of our events because we are on the same continent, and so this is sort of like friends squaring
In
off
list
here.
number 3.
Excellent. Obviously, being a big boy is quite a lot of help in these kind of sports. It gives you more stamina, more power to
Well-
play around with. But you know, some of the smaller guys can hit just as hard and the lighter on the feet. So there's obviously everything to play for. Don't let size fool you.
There's definitely advantages and disadvantages. Carrying a lot of muscle and a lot of strength gives you a lot of strength, but it also burns a lot of oxygen. And when you're trying to get breaths underneath those helmets, and luckily the day is cool today, but we fought other places where it's been much warmer. So this kind of fighting weather will definitely favor our fighters.
And here we go, the first match of IMCF.
Are you ready? All right, first match of the 2016 IMCF World Championship. We have Quebec versus the United States. The Quebecois fighter looks like he is ready to go. Andrew on the American side is taking it a little easier.
Looking relaxed. Quebec fighter is roaring to go, full of enthusiasm. He's warming himself up.
And they're off.
Casual start.
Little tap together, signal.
Ooh.
And it's already getting brutal.
American fighter just goes in there with those several quick jabs, just playing for the guard, see if he can get through. Just getting to the helmet slightly.
Now in polearm, you can also strike with the butt end of the weapon, so you may be seeing some of that. What the Quebecois fighter definitely does not want to do is try to match Andrew for strength, because he's probably giving up a good 40 kilos to him.
Yeah, I think he just noticed that if he tries to do the same back, that he's not quite successful. The Quebecian fighter has much a shorter grip on his polearm, so I think he's trying to get him close and won't let Andrew hit him with a full haft of the weapon. He's got a very long
Andrew's
grip.
got a hold of him. And grappling is allowed in this sport.
Grappling's low. He's going to try and throw the other fighter to score some extra points. He's fine.
Well, he got away.
Oh, an exciting match. He's getting a bit spun around there, I think.
Yes. Oh, and that's the end of round 1. I don't know, Eli. I think I'd definitely have to give that one to Andrew.
Yeah, I think Andrew won the best of the day, but obviously it's up to the marshals to have the final call.
Absolutely.
Because the way the count hits that have been unblocked are the
Yes.
only hits that
And
come through.
it's difficult to see from up where we are. And we have another match starting over here. It looks like Poland
Versus
Benoit.
Benoit from Belgium,
Oh,
I
okay.
believe.
So we have Poland and Belgium in the other arena here.
Again, Benoit goes for the quarterstaff type style with sort of much more shallow grip. Polish fighter, again going with the long hacks, much more longer grip to give him the extra reach.
Now, Poland was very successful last year at
yeah,
IMCF 2015.
Apologies, it's not Poland.
Oh, it's not Poland. It's not. It's Great Britain.
It's Great Britain. It's
Great
Battle
Britain.
Heritage.
It's Battle Heritage, yes.
It's red is a very sort of favorite color, really.
Yes.
Again, we do apologize. We do not quite have the fighters list, but these guys are whacking the absolute
Daylights out of each other.
out of each other. Yes.
That's a good fight going on here.
So the British fighter has a nasal helmet, which allows him, I think, slightly more visibility.
Ooh.
Otherwise, I think they're pretty matched for size. The Belgian fighter got himself smacked against the list, so he's just guarding himself, not letting any of those shots get through and score points. He's just looking for an opening, whereas the British man's just wailing on his helmet.
And we've got to stop on that, and we are back up in the other arena.
Hey, once these events get going, it's non-stop. Again, Andrew going in for those quick jabs to the side of the helmet that was so successful for him last round.
It's keeping him at distance. For the taller man with the longer reach, that is the smart play.
The Quebecian's giving as good as he gets, though.
Yes.
Again, the sort of occasional strong blow coming through. Thinking
The Quebec team is very skilled and very well coached. I believe that we have Regis down there working with them. Andrew loses his pole axe for a minute. No. Andrew's doing a lot of low line shots, which the Quebec fighter seems not to be answering. Oh, there we go.
yeah.
Now you'll notice members of each team are working with them and yelling encouragement. We have Jay Brooks, who is the executive officer for our team, and Andre Sanu over in the corner of the American, and Regis. And he is disarmed, and that is worth a point.
And that is, I think, a stop fight currently. The Quebecian has sort of adopted for a longer reach to try and play his American friend at his game, but I don't think it's played off quite well for him this time, because it's very hard to match somebody who's taller and sort of stronger than you at their own game.
Exactly. Well, we'll see. Will it go a third round, or will it be decided after 2? Now, the way this is scored is you have 2 referees for each fighter, and they are counting with a little clicker device how many good blows they see. You'll see them after each match get together and compare scores. Now, usually the scores are very close because these are all very experienced referees. But if there's a discrepancy, they'll discuss it and decide what they feel, and it happened. And they are saying it is over. So we have a winner over here. All right. And in the far ring, we have another fight setting up.
Lots of fights. really want to get a move on with this, don't they?
Absolutely. It looks like we have Germany on the near side.
Oh, and back to the
And
winners.
the first winner, the IMCF, is Andrew Dion from the United States.
The winner, this number 2,
Can you see he hugs his opponent?
USA.
Nice friendly match.
Yes.
Excellent victory, I think, well deserved.
Good job.
Yeah. Excellent
All
opponent
right.
too.
And we are back up.
With Belgium versus UK.
Well, off to a fast start here now.
UK just goes straight in for those thigh shots. Trying to ring for the legs. See that Belgian friend Benoit has shortened his grip and he can't guard the lower legs quite so much, maybe.
Female Canadian fighter, please report to list number 3. Female Canadian fighter to number 3 right now.
Belgian fighter playing a defensive game. He's trying to counterattack all those quick, fast blows coming in. None of the fighters are getting tired yet. They're just being, I think, very cautious of each other. What do you think, Dale?
This is scored by points, and so if you know that you're ahead and you have a good feeling about that, a fine strategy is to sit back and play defense, because you only have to win by 1 point.
Exactly. You don't need to waste any more energy than you already
And
have
you're going to be
expended.
fighting all day. And most of these people, who are fighting here today, will also be fighting on either 5-man, 10-man, or 16-man team later in the week. All right, and that ends. We have Igor down there. He is a referee from Quebec. Worked with him last year in Poland. And if you've seen any of the people running around with the t-shirts that say, "It's too pointy, it's too heavy, I don't like it," that came from a quote that happened with Igor and I in dealing with some, let's say, not to spec weapons that were brought on the field. It's kind of become a joke around here about it's too pointy, it's too heavy, and I don't like it.
That's right. That certainly was the case with most of our weapons after we brought them from another tournament called Battle of the Nations, where the rules are a little bit different. So these had to be adjusted to be slightly more safer. And we have a third fight of the day starting up. I do believe that might be the women's.
It could be, or they're smaller men, one of the two.
It's genuinely quite impossible to tell. Whatever you heard about female armor, it looks like armor.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
people are people, and they have the same vital bits.
And these female fighters are just as fierce as the men. You you can't take anything away from them. They're out there, they're in armor, and they are going to be fighting just as hard to win as any of the men in the nearer lists.
I believe in the far list we have Canada versus perhaps good old Deutschland.
Yeah, it looks like Germany against
Yeah.
Canada. Now, it's interesting because Canada both has a team Canada, and they have a team Quebec. And I strongly suggest, Eli, we don't get those mixed up because they get a little spiky about it.
I do apologize. Yes,
Yeah.
I will try to be more particular about the Quebecans. Oh, so excellent.
England.
Oh, and now we're going to have to swap between two fights. So we're going back to list number 1 with Spain.
No, it appears we are still on the Canada-Germany fight. Oh, now we've switched over. And it looks like we have Spain and Denmark.
Denmark, with his very proud salmon-colored coat, is just rushing his opponent to the corner, just trying to tire him out, just trying to hit him in the face, maybe stun him. These helmets are protected, but you do feel blows through them.
Absolutely. And you know, his strategy might. And they. Well, it looks. I don't know how they'll score that. Whether he went down with the opponent or not, that'll be up to the referees. He's cautioning the referee's cautioning right now for bringing the polearm behind the opponent's neck,
which is a bad move because obviously you don't want to neck wrestle too much because it's quite injury prone.
Well, and I know it doesn't look like it, but safety is our #1 concern here. All
The
these
fight
weapons.
restarts. Yep. Ooh, good shot to the thigh by our Spanish friend. Stop fight.
And the Marshall's having a bit of trouble with the Spaniard's helmet. He has a very interesting aventail on his helmet. It's a scale aventail. You're beginning to see more of those, I've noticed.
Excellent.
Right.
And we're swapping over to the next fight in the right list, which is Poland versus Scotland, I do believe.
Yes, that's definitely Poland, definitely Scotland, with the St. Andrew's cross. Ooh, I'm a little sketchy about the gauntlets that the Scotland fighter is wearing. He's wearing a chainmail gauntlet with a knuckle guard on it, and there are lots and lots of hits to the hand in polearm. I'm a little concerned for him, but it does meet regulations, and obviously the marshals have checked it, so I just hope he's okay.
I think a lot of the chainmail gauntlets have secret plate protection underneath. So
Let us hope so.
Yeah,
Let us hope so.
So Polish fighter jabbing in there, probing the gut. Again, we have the long point guard versus the quarterstaff guard. Yeah, just going straight for the head, unrelenting. Polish team, very strong.
Very strong team.
Scottish man is just trying to defend himself, doing quite successfully so far, but a few of those shots are getting through.
Absolutely. Scotland, this is their second year in the tournament. They showed up to the tournament last year in Malbork, Poland, with armor that they had.
Back to the female fight again. I do apologize for interrupting. Again, the Germany-Canada fight goes on. And so does the Scotland and Polish fight goes on. I think currently the stream is on the Canada-Germany.
Just so you know at home, we're having a little trouble telling you what is being featured because we are in blazing sunlight trying to look at a monitor to see what you're seeing. But now we're back to the Poland-Scotland fight.
I do believe the important thing is that people are finding, oh, the Scottish fighter is really reeling. He just got butted to the face, and that's one of the things that actually gets through the most is just a direct jab. And I think he's quite rattled.
Yeah.
Back to Spain and Denmark.
Very exciting fight here. Both those fighters were. Oh, and the pole axe is broken.
First broken weapon off the tournament.
And they immediately swap it out for another one. Yeah. The Spanish fighter obviously thought that was going to stop the fight, but they swapped him out quickly, and they are back in.
The Danish fighter is again a little bit bigger. But they're pretty evenly matched. It's very hard to tell people in armor who's bigger than who.
Well, the Danish team is a very competent team. They've done very well at every competition I've seen them at. The Spanish team is a younger team. They premiered 2 years ago when the tournament was in Belmonte, Spain. Was their first appearance in the IMCF tournament. And they've been growing rapidly. Their recruiting has been very active, and we're looking forward to seeing. They're one of the only teams in the 16-on-16 with the United States and France. So we're really anxious to see how the Spanish team has grown and progressed.
Absolutely. I hope the same thing happens to Portugal this year, where I think it is one of the first years that they come to play at the international scene. They're a very young team, but obviously this is their home ground. So hopefully they have a good show for it, and it really kickstarts the sport in their country, because the more countries means you can fight more people.
Exactly, exactly. And you have a greater pool to choose from. Some of the Eastern European countries, they'll have 40 or 50 different clubs show up for competitions to determine who will represent the country. It's not quite as big in the New World, being Eli from New Zealand or me from the United States, but it's growing both places. I know a lot of the fighters from New Zealand, and they work very hard. And we are back on.
Spain was round 3, which means each one of the fighters has drew a previous round. So this round is everything to play for. The final round decides who will be the winner of this pool fight.
Now the initial pool, they'll fight a round robin and fight everyone, and then it'll be seeded, I believe, into direct eliminations, which go right down to the championship.
Good defense by the Spain there, where he just bypassed that sort of cross guard to his face and just whacked the guy a couple of times in the head really strongly. So I think the Spanish fighter's trying to play defensively, whereas the Dane is just trying to overpower him.
Hard shot to the side of the Dane's head.
Yes, they both really want to win this.
This is where you have to dig deep. Whoever wins this round will win the fight.
Obviously, clinches such as like that are extremely tiring to both fighters. So this is a real test of endurance as well.
Absolutely.
A good shot to the thigh, shot to the head. Very quick on the Spanish. The Dane is just trying to walk forward and use it as a defense.
All right, and that's the end of that fight.
I'll be curious to see who won that. And
all right, we're back over Scotland and Poland. And the Polish fighter is pretty easily handling the Scottish fighter.
Just tapping away at the side of the head. Very nice scoring hits. They don't have to be the hardest hits to score, but obviously they have to have good power behind them.
But Scotland is not giving any ground.
He is in this till the end.
Yep,
I think.
absolutely. Yeah. He's looking for an opportunity, and the Polish fighter, pretty obviously a more skilled opponent of the two. But Scotland is not giving anything.
Managed to get a little bit of a tap through.
Now we may be seeing here is the Polish fighter is pretty sure he's up on points, although he's mounting an attack.
We have a winner here in last number 2. And the winner is...
Just playing for time.
Spain.
And in the Denmark versus Spain fight, we have Spain winning that one.
And we have a winner in the ladies fight here.
The ladies fight. Waiting for the call. Yeah, exactly. They said that we have a winner and then nothing.
Number 3 for the first ladies fight of the day, Canada.
Canada takes the first women's fight of the day.
Excellent, good showing by both fighters. Very animated fight, quite protracted too for length of time. Both fighters clearly very skilled. Everybody knows what they're doing.
Male, Luxembourg, and Portugal. Please report to list number 2.
They just called the next fight up on Luxembourg and Portugal.
Whether that's for the men's or the women's category,
that's anyone's guess.
I believe it is for the women's category.
All right.
In list number
Is it the
3.
first year of women's Polearm?
No. We started the women's competition in all 3 weapon forms in Belmonte, Spain in 2014. They competed again in 2015 in Poland at Malbork, and then this is the 3rd year for women's competition, both in the singles forms and in melee. We'll have a 3-on-3 women's melee. Now, if we have trouble with some of the countries that this isn't something that's their heritage, putting together teams for the men, it's doubly difficult for the women. There is growing interest in this, but it's still pretty much male dominated, although we do have, I believe, 5 teams in the women's melee this year.
Yeah, there is certainly a lot of teams, and the interest is growing. I believe a lot of I believe, historical European martial arts are very 50-50 on male-female participants, so hopefully it can lead by example there and, just bring everybody in to fight. Because it's just a really fun sport that you want everybody to do.
Absolutely.
And in the left-hand corner of the list, we also have Portugal versus Luxembourg, I believe, and the women's fight is Portugal versus Quebec. Hopefully that won't get too confusing.
Portugal, Quebec, and who's the other team, Eli?
I believe it is Luxembourg. That must be the Luxembourg they referred to.
Okay, yes, it was. You're right. You're right.
So we're getting more and more crowds through the day, obviously, as you guys on stream can see. It's really great to have people watching this sort of early in the afternoon. Best place to have brunch. Come on down to Portugal, Montemoro Villa, and have some brunch with us.
And we've got a lot of children in the crowd, I'm noticing. And one of the things I've had commented on a lot during our events is the amazing good sportsmanship, even though this is such an aggressive competition. All right. So the Portuguese crowd getting behind their fighter here. Ooh. Fighter from Luxembourg mounting a good attack. Oh, and an answer from Portugal.
We could hear that clang all the way up in the tower right here.
Solid.
Ooh, chop to the neck.
And we have an armor failure. And they're going to let, I don't know where that came from. A piece of armor hit the ground.
Quite often you don't know until about a week later.
Exactly. It's like after the 16-on-16, the field is littered with armor and weapons. It's kind of like a garage sale.
I lost a gauntlet in a previous one. Ooh. So Luxembourg fighter trying to probe those in, but they're just not getting past the defense of the Portuguese fighter. Portuguese fighter holding his axe high, just trying to bar anything that comes through. Ooh, good shot to the side of the head again by the Portuguese. Answered straight away.
Now, if you'll notice, the Portuguese fighter is using a bardiche, and there's a hand spot for her to put her hand into, and she seems to be using that to drive short punches with it. Now we're in the middle arena. We have Portugal and Quebec. This is in the women's division.
Very long axes used by both fighters, which is a little bit of a contrast to what we've seen before. So this is much more of a distance fight for points rather than a sort of shove it up in their face kind of fight. Which is a little bit different, I think, in my opinion, just as interesting to see.
Oh, absolutely.
So people do go for different strategies when they want to keep a distance and they really want to bull rush their opponent and just sort of punch them in the face straight away just because they're so good to get stuck in.
Well, and it depends largely on your physicality and what your abilities are. If you have a great physical advantage in size and or weight, you may be best served to drive your opponent into the corner, pin them, and just continue to hit them. But these two look like they're pretty evenly matched size and weight, so I think we're going to see more of a tactical battle here.
Yeah, that's right, I think so too. And certainly there has been a lot of defensive plays there of just crossbarring their opponent and just holding them in place until you're playing for time. It's obviously a great play to say if you're already winning ahead and you just want to shut down your opponent, as we've seen, because you're winning ahead and you're just playing for time, you don't want to get any more tired, or whether perhaps if you are tired and you just don't want to get hit a lot more. So there's a lot of tactical decisions that goes on in the fighters' heads in these matches. A minute is quite a long time.
It's a lot longer than it seems.
And time slows
and
down.
We're back on here with Portugal and Luxembourg. The first round looked pretty even.
Yeah, they're both very evenly matched fighters this time round. A little bit of a kick. Quick hits from Luxembourg. Quick hits from Portugal to the sternum too, but I'm not sure whether the marshals will count those as impressive as the hits to the helmet.
No.
Nothing quite as impressive as a hit to the helmet to the marshal.
Very true. The fighter from Luxembourg is now scoring quite a few hits on the fighter from Portugal.
I think it was a really strong opening from him with those
Very
jabs.
strong opening.
And he's just playing for time, doing those counterattacks. Might be that the Portugal fighter is playing defensively, or perhaps he's getting a little bit tired. He certainly might even be rattled a little bit.
And the Luxembourg fighter is warned for butt stroking upward to the helmet.
Oh, that's a big no-no. That's a butt stroke to the neck.
Yeah.
Big hit to the head. I think Luxembourg fighter certainly taking this for points currently. I think he's got the distance advantage and the strength advantage now.
Yes. And that's the end of this fight.
Hug it out, guys.
Hug it out. And now we're back to the middle, where we have Portugal and Quebec, the women's division. Again, with those long pole axes.
A few quick jabs in before the clinch begins.
Now, sometimes they clinch as a tactical thing, or sometimes you just need a breather.
Oh,
headbutt. Oh, 3 from Portugal. Not answered by Quebec.
The crowd loves it.
And they are going to, well, it look like they're going to stop the fight. They're going to break the clinch.
Break the clinch.
Something.
The Quebec fighter got a few quick jabs in.
And they've stopped the fight. All right, we have a decision over here in Portugal versus Luxembourg. And Luxembourg.
I think he really won that in the last round.
Yes, he came out very strong in that last round and scored a lot of quick hits.
Again, crowd being incredibly supportive of the home team, which is just wonderful to see. I get to fight them later, so I'm going to be in the same.
Are you against them in the fives?
Yes, I will be fighting Portugal in the fives later within the same pool as New Zealand. I'm very much looking forward to the home team's hospitality.
There we go. Excellent. Do you fight today?
No, I think I'm just going to chill here in the turret.
Right. We've got excellent seats here, and it's a beautiful day. And,
I just wanted to bring us some lunch.
yeah, that'd be really nice.
And obviously some of the marshals and the fighters are rehydrating, which is incredibly important.
All right.
It's quite warm out here. It's starting to warm up.
We have another victory here. That was not. No, it's getting confusing. I think the other fighter did not show up for their fight.
I think that's Latvia.
One of the things that makes it difficult for us is that a lot of the countries are using historically correct flags for the period and historically correct sigils and signage, and so you know, it's difficult to tell sometimes when a modern country's colors and flag, and they're wearing the version from 1350. All right, looks here, we're getting ready. We've got a German fighter. Oh, and it looks like the fight in the middle
is carrying on for round 3.
Which they're not showing. Looks like we're over here on Poland. And
meanwhile, Quebec and the Portuguese women's are just...
Oh, and we're to that fight now, okay.
Some really, really heavy hits from the Portuguese fighter.
So this is the third round, and this is for all the marbles.
They can really go hard on this one. They gotta win it.
At this point, you're tired. Your lungs are burning. Your legs are burning.
You just gotta hit the other person in the head.
Just keep hitting
really
them in the head. And your decision is hit them in the head.
So yeah, lots of clinches. Both fighters just giving it their all. You can see them just struggling through those guards, just trying to get those scoring shots in. And the Quebec fighter is down.
Oh.
She gets back up. She's all right.
Now that does score 1 point for the Portuguese fighter.
And we're back to the Poland versus either Lithuania/Estonia fight. I really do apologize. I do not recognize the guys. And the second broken weapon of the tournament.
You can see how hard they're hitting. They just sheared through about a 3 centimeter solid piece of wood.
Probably ash. Quite hard, those things.
Igor sets him up to start again. The Polish fighters have traditionally been quite skilled in all the forms. They won almost everything last year in their home country of Poland. Ooh, strong shot.
Oh, and we do have another fight on the left list with Canada versus Germany.
German fighters significantly larger than the Canadian.
But meanwhile, the stream is back to Poland.
Strong shot.
A very technical fight, a lot of back and forth, a lot of bringing. Ooh, and that's an attempted throw that didn't quite go the way towards the Polish fighter. His opponent recovered.
And first round is done. Pretty evenly matched.
Back to Germany and Canada. The German fighter is absolutely ginormous compared to his opponent. It's always great to see, but the Canadian is just so full of energy.
He's not giving any ground. Very large. And Portugal in the women's division.
Winner is declared.
Crowd goes wild. So after 3 rounds, Portugal was able to get the victory there over Quebec.
I think in the mid-round she scored quite a lot of those heavy hits, which I think won her the match. And I think starting to look a little bit worse for wear towards the end. But obviously both of the ladies just absolutely great fight towards the end. You could really see it giving them their all.
And neither one was going to back down 1 inch.
These fights matter. People travel a long time just to have these 4 fights, 4
Yes.
3-round fights.
Absolutely. Coming all the way from Quebec, province of Canada.
It's quite a wee while away.
Yeah.
Just to have a little respite in the fighting. All the fighters are getting a little bit of coaching advice, a little bit of water here and there. Obviously, everybody has a coach on standby that they can sort of give a few bits of key advice on what they should be doing better, or any weaknesses that they can expose in their opponents.
Well, and it's sometimes difficult to see what your opponent is doing because your vision is severely limited in these helmets. You're looking, a friend of mine said one time, it's kind of like looking out through a letterbox while someone's trying to hit you in the head with an axe. So very difficult.
That's precisely what it is.
Yeah, it's exactly what it is.
So that's what my first piece of armor looked like, a letterbox. Obviously, some helmets are better than others for vision. Certainly, a lot of the nasal type helmets or Mongolian
The British helmets, yes.
British helmets are preferred.
Well, and with armor and helmets and all of this, there's always a trade-off between speed and mobility and protectiveness. You can have the greatest helmet and armor in the world to give you great mobility, but if you get up against this like German gentleman over here, and he racks you in the head with your lightweight helmet, you're going to know about it. Canada comes out hard.
Yeah, full of energy again. Blocks those big shots from Germany, just trying to get in, trying to counterattack. He's walking circles around his opponent, just trying to get offline of those just ginormous hits coming his way.
Very difficult to get in.
Trying to quarterstaff his way with the axe. Again, just trying to keep off that center line because he knows the German will play for length, just down the center. He just needs to get away. He needs to sidestep the attacks.
Oh, and he's pinned up against the rail. And that hurts, folks.
So duking it out for tiredness now. It's getting around 2. This is where the stamina again comes into hand. We literally cannot stress this enough in every fight. The attacks from the German fighter just coming through those guards. He's just smashing through them.
He's obviously tiring here. He mounted a good attack right at the beginning, but getting hit in the head multiple times. And the fight is stopped.
Those hits do tire you out a lot.
They do tire you out.
And back to the other fight, which is just started just about 20 seconds ago.
Poland and Estonia. We know Poland is in the red. We believe Estonia is the other fighter.
With a black circle with a 3 lions and a yellow shield. And the fight has just stopped, but the Polish fighter gave a good showing, being very aggressive. Just stepping in with several combos and then stepping back, and I think it's all over after 2 rounds. Again, Poland obviously one of the strongest teams out there to fight. Always a pleasure to fight them. They're really experienced guys who know what they're doing.
Very experienced. All right, and on the in the center list we have the American fighter, Janelle Ironside, stepping in. She is the largest woman on. No, maybe not. Looks like they're going to, but then they changed their mind.
It's okay. Everybody gets to fight.
That's right. They'll all fight everybody eventually. It's just a little.
We'll see her in a minute or so.
Just a little confusing for us up here in the booth. And so, in Germany beats Canada in the men's poleaxe. Not surprising there.
I believe that.
It looks like they're going to round 3 in Poland versus Estonia.
Quite adventurously chucked his helmet off there just to get a breath of fresh air. Obviously, helmet is one of the sort of bits of kit that takes kind of the most annoying effort of time to put on just before the fight. But they obviously are quite warm, and a lot of the fighters you will see are being cooled down with towels and water, just because overheating is just such an issue right now.
Even though it's a very temperate day, it's very, very nice out today. The fighting gets just substantially harder as the temperature raises, because you not only have the armor on, for those of you that know the sport, you know that you have an arming coat under it that is usually heavily padded that your armor hooks into. And so you're wearing clothing, padding, armor, and the weight and everything really begins to take its toll. And if the weather gets hotter, it gets harder. Looks like we're going to round 3 here. Good fight between these two.
Touch axes, again, tactical game, back and forth. I think this will be the 3rd round.
Poland attempting to change
2, 3.
lines, a couple good shots.
3-shot combo, again, back to the clinch. He's trying to lead his opponent around, feel his weaknesses. When you're touching your opponent, you can obviously feel that balance in the structure. So he's probably just trying to gorge out of where he can strike next, or maybe if he can throw him. And he gets behind him.
Estonian fighter is looking to go more defensive here. Igor stops them. Marshall from Quebec here.
Obviously, all inactive clinches are broken up after 3 seconds, I do believe, just because we don't want fights to be boring. We hug after the fight, not during.
Yeah, we'll hug after the fight. Oh, and some punches to the head there from the Estonian fighter.
Which is absolutely allowed and sometimes encouraged.
Well, you've got to remember that these are mostly pretty good-sized people in here fighting with a lot of strength, and they have solid steel gauntlets on. And to punch someone in the face with that, that's jarring.
Well, for all of you that saw Game of Thrones, without too many spoilers, you know what happens.
My girlfriend's a horse trainer, and when the mountain beheaded his horse after the joust, that was the end of us watching Game of Thrones.
I see, fair enough. My original heritage is from Russia, so I come sort of from the steppe people, and you know, horses, you ride them, you eat them, sort of do all this sort of things, because that's the only animals really available. Yeah, obviously.
All right, we have, looks like Portugal over here versus Quebec.
Yep.
In the near ring.
Portuguese fighter just going strong.
It's got a nice high guard.
High guard protecting those blows. Quebecian blows us almost getting through there. So, yeah, there we go. 1-2 combo, excellent. So that's going to score him some points. Portuguese fighter just trying to wail away at the lower guard. And excellent nice headbutt. Everybody's favorite.
Good strategic use of that. Now the Quebec fighter was warned. His weapon was turning in his hand, and was warned to strike with the edge, not the flat, because you don't get any points if you score with the flat.
Obviously, we would still like to represent, despite the fact that this is tournament combat, this is indicative of life, so you want to strike people with a hitting edge rather than anything, which is...
I'm seeing more and more the helmet that the Portuguese gentleman here is wearing, and also the gentleman from Estonia. That Griffin-style helmet has become very popular over the last couple of years. We've seen a rise of those, and also the nasal helm that we spoke of earlier with the Bertoche, or the nasal guard on there. As people experiment with different types. In the earlier years, we saw a lot of pig face or dog face bassinets, but people realized having things sticking out from your face when people are hitting you with axes provides a pivot point to snap your neck around badly.
Oh, and back to the fight. Excellent. So in the center ring, we've got Canada versus Quebec.
Oh,
grudge
that's
match.
a grudge match there.
Excellent. Attempted throw.
Oh, and they both go down.
I think that was not dominated by any one of the fighters. So perhaps they both get points. Points for everyone. Or penalty points.
Something.
Depends how nice the marshal is.
They're trying to,
Some sleeping fighters just chilling out on the list of Scotland there on the street. Obviously, it's very important to chill out and win fights. It's the skill. And
right.
back to the fighting.
And we're waiting a decision in the other fight, the Estonia versus Poland fight. The Estonian fighter's removing his helmet now. Referee waiting to make the call.
Meanwhile, it's just a back and forth with a women's fight.
And Poland wins that fight. Well fought.
It was a very close fight, up to 3 rounds. Both fighters either drawing or winning a round each.
Now you can see we have and
fighter stopped. I do believe the...
Okay, now we are back to Quebec and Portugal, and the Quebec fighter is down.
Flag goes down, the fight is stopped.
Portuguese making a very good showing here for their first year in the tournament.
Fight is resumed after the fighter stands back up. Sliding there through the guard slightly.
barge there.
Yeah, and
Oh,
attempting the throw.
and he's down again.
Mais een roep op de wall on South Towers.
So 2 takedowns in a.
And his coach does not look happy.
I think he's quite rattled. I think he's a little bit unsteady on his feet now because I think the Portuguese fighter got him really good on the side of the helmet earlier.
It looks like it. He's having some problem with his gauntlet, as fixed by his coach Regis.
And obviously, as these fights go on, the physical endurance determines of how many big hits you can take as well.
Absolutely. There's a cumulative effect, and there's also a cumulative damage effect to your armor. You'll be getting to see more and more armor failures as the day goes on. As we've said, all these weapons are real, and the people are swinging them as hard as they possibly can. Armor works, and it protects you, but it also breaks, as anything that is made by people does. And this really puts it to the test. Now in the center, we have the American female fighter, Janelle Ironside, coming in. She's actually on her honeymoon. Her husband is behind her holding the flag, and they were just recently married, and this is their honeymoon. Her husband fights on the 16 versus 16 team of the United States, and Janelle is the team captain for the women. And
Truly a romantic sport.
Yeah, it's a romantic sport. We actually have 3 couples fighting on the American team this year. 4 couples, excuse me. We have four couples.
And she is fighting a Portuguese fighter, and I don't believe they've announced the winner of the previous Canada versus Quebec grudge match, but hopefully you guys caught it on stream or can find out later from your friends on Facebook. Obviously, speaking of Facebook, do follow us on Facebook.
Yes.
We do lovely attention. No, I mean, support all your friends and family fighting. Yeah, that was the right thing to say.
That was the correct thing. That's what he meant. So I knew what you meant.
Yeah. Good.
So now Janelle is a elementary school teacher of all things. Yeah, I bet her students stay in line. And she is the largest woman on the American team at over 2 meters and at about 125 kilograms of weight out of armor. She is a very powerful woman and powerful fighter.
So certainly brings a lot of mass to the fore.
A lot of mass, a lot of power. She has been fighting in the side for creative anachronisms, doing heavy weapons for 10 years. But this is her first year in the Armored Combat League.
Well, let's see how both the fighters do. First we have seen today of the Portuguese fighters, or is it?
I don't think we've seen the Portuguese women yet.
The first round was a Portuguese fighter. Obviously, the Portuguese are showing themselves very well this year round. We've got full support.
You can see the kind of power that Janelle is able to wield.
Yeah, those sets are really getting through the Portuguese fighter's guard, and she's shaking her head. Quite rattling. The Portuguese fighter scoring points too in this helmet with those quick jabs, but I do believe she's slightly outmatched by power by our American friend.
Yes. Janelle fights out of Colorado, and she often fights with her husband and the other men in that division. She's very adept, very skilled, and very changing her grip up there. She's looking to drive that poleaxe.
This is probably the most paced match we've seen so far, when the fighters are looking at each other, just looking for that weakness. I know we can't see it from here, but inside they're looking into each other's eyes and really looking for that weakness still.
And in the other list, we have Portugal and Quebec. Looks like they've gone to a 3rd round on this.
Yeah, they're sort of just throwing each other over the...
Yeah, they both just hit the ground as the feed changed the other fight.
They're having fun down there. The fighter started before the Quebecian fighter is really ready. He is really looking quite rattled on his feet. He's looking almost drunk, I would say. Obviously, it's very hard. He's getting really pummeled. I do not want to be in his shoes.
And the fight is stopped.
But he is in there, and he doesn't go down.
He stays
to the end. What a champion.
Well, you're not going to find very many people here that are willing to give up. We always say that you fight to the win or the submission, but I've never seen anyone submit.
Victory of Valhalla.
Yeah. And you can see, I don't know, they're not showing it on the stream, but the Portuguese fighter is laying up against the rails, the head thrown back, just trying to get some breaths.
Yeah, they'll be very out of breath by this point. This is both of their second fights in the tournament. It's gone to 3 rounds. It is their 5th or 6th full minutes of fighting, just non-stop. The Quebec fighters are right, they hug it out. What a butt check. Both fighters.
And they're going to go another round here. Obviously, it was a tie, so they are now in round 4. And in the center, we have the American and the Portuguese fighter coming together. For those of you just joining us in the live stream, we have 3 different arenas running at one time, and we are trying to keep up with what they're showing on each one. But sometimes they cut away, and we're having difficulty seeing in our live feed sometimes what they're showing. So if we're announcing one fight and they're fighting another one, it's because we can't see the darn thing.
But it's okay. You find out about the fight that you can't see from us.
That's right.
Which is why we're here. We're talking about fighting at any given point, and hopefully you like that. If not, I guess there is a mute button, but we really do hope that you enjoy the sound of our voices, because we do. And anyway, back to the fight. The American fighter certainly taking the strength advantage. She's keeping the distance from her opponent. She's really controlling that fight, putting all those strong shots in.
Now, an interesting thing about her is her nickname is Key. And if you notice, on her weapon, she has a key cut into it as her namesake.
That's right. Oh, and actually that fight, so you just saw there's a couple of headbutts, but actually I've been watching these fighters. He's been headbutting that man for the last 25 seconds. So
well, this is round 5 on this fight.
Round
4, I'm sorry.
5, yeah.
Round 4. They have fought 4 minutes already. Neither one able to gain enough advantage to win this match.
Nobody's giving up. The Portuguese fighter tries to throw.
Oh, and the Portuguese fighter puts the Quebec down.
That was a clean throw, absolutely beautifully executed. Just drags him around the shoulder, around his point of balance, and down he goes.
And the crowd was very happy with that. A good burst of applause there.
Quebecian fighter is back on his feet and strong. He's just got a little bit of a thumb malfunction that his coach is addressing.
Well, your hands get hit a lot when you're fighting with pole arms.
Gotta protect your hands.
Yes.
And the fight has stopped almost as soon as it has restarted.
A big hug there.
I do believe the Portuguese fighter took that away in the end.
I would have to agree with you. Eli.
Yeah.
And in the center, the United States fighter, Janelle Ironside, has won her first match.
Excellent show by both fighters, but I do think the American had the advantage of experience and certainly mass to back up her axe strikes, and she really controls that fight.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Please prepare.
And Portuguese fighter in the Portuguese-Quebec fight that went 4 rounds.
The Portuguese fighter wins, which they're currently not showing on stream, but he is looking very chapped and rather tired. I do think that beautiful throw won him the victory points.
You may very well be right.
But amazing show by both friends. They're both reeling from that fight. They're just so happy. But there's still several pool matches to go, so they just got to keep at it.
The Portuguese fighter goes to whip up the crowd. They're very appreciative of that.
It's also, when you see fighters sort of reeling a bit or looking quite drunk, it's not because their snacks up a lot of the time, it's because all that adrenaline, that rush for your system of fighting another human being at the risk of great injury just sort of washes down you, and you sort of start feeling a bit shaky, and it takes quite a while to sort of calm down after that body-wise. Not even mind-wise, you just sort of sit and you shake it out and you relax and kind of walk it off. So that's certainly a big effect on our fighters as well. But the day's just warming up.
We're just getting going here. As we said, we're in the men's and women's pole axe competition, and we will be moving after that to the 5-on-5 melee competition in Pool A, which includes that powerful United States team, the Striking Eagles. Freedom. We will be bringing freedom to you.
And we will be bringing more freedom from New Zealand as the world's most free country too. Absolutely. It looks like the American female fighter is in as well, so she's got a back-to-back match against the Quebecian fighter. obviously fighting back-to-back matches is very hard, but she looked like she came quite well off in the last fight, so I think she's certainly up for it and up for another challenge.
And here we go. Janelle for the United States versus the fighter from Quebec, whose name I should know, but I don't know which one of their women fights which single form. And you can see she's pretty much fully defensive as Janelle is beating her senseless.
There are a couple of probes and a couple of shots coming here and there. The Quebecian fighter just tries to hit the American back with the back of her axe, but it's just not getting through. Whereas just a couple of shots from Janelle are. But both fighters are doing very well on the defensive, so actually few scoring shots are getting through on both sides. And clinch. And disarm.
And that actually counts for 1 point. For the Quebec fighter, she managed to disarm her.
So it was a very nice disarm with the arm where she wrapped around and she yoinked it towards her.
Oh! I felt that one.
Now it was mostly blocked, but still just incredible power from the US fighter. Quebec fighter gets a quick tie shot and a quick headshot. Nice combo.
And round 1 is done.
Oh, that was a very interesting fight. Very, very technical. Lots of stuff going on.
And we seem to be at a pause. The marshals are in the center, working out who the next set of fights will be. Poleaxe doesn't have as many competitors as the other two forms, which are long sword and sword and shield. I think because it is so brutal, you have not a lot of people want to do this. You know, because in melee you get hit by a poleaxe occasionally, and that's unpleasant. But when you go into a poleaxe fight, you pretty much know you're going to get hit with a poleaxe. That's kind of right in the description.
3 minutes flat.
3 minutes. 3 minutes of getting hit with something extremely unpleasant.
I think my record of hits during big melee fights of everybody, I think I took 9 poleaxe hits and that was it. I was done. I think I was done for the day.
Yeah, it very much can rattle your cage. I mean, even not one of the very large axes like these pole axes, but the shorter axes can do a ton of damage because you have a great deal of mass at the end of the swing. And they're back at it.
Both high guards playing defensive. The American switches back grip. Clearly setting himself up for a butt strike, maybe. Just chopping down with those strong jabs, trying to get for the guard. The USA supporters chanting USA. Very endearing.
Ooh, another hard shot to the head of the Quebec fighter. And another one. Janelle definitely has the height advantage here, the United States fighter. She is probably a good 10, 12 centimeters at least taller than her opponent. And now she's dropping all that weight on her and making her opponent hold her up.
And she's using the list to a great advantage to prop herself up so she's not getting quite as tired. Also, I'd like to point out that the American fighter's weapon has actually got a longer striking edge than the Quebecian one, which probably just helps you a little bit more to, if your shots aren't landing quite cleanly, you can just clip them with the side of your blade.
Absolutely.
So that's sort of working towards her favor as well.
Right. And they're still trying to, they have just moved paramedics onto the field. I don't think anybody's hurt. I think that's a precautionary measure. We are extremely tight with the rules here in the International Medieval Combat Federation. All of the weapons have to be checked for weight, radius, striking areas, and make sure that everything is safe. They can't have any burrs or rough edges, which could cause a problem cutting an opponent. And they have to be designed so they cannot punch through armor. The fighting is very hard, but we want everyone to go home at the end of the day. We want to have everybody at the closing ceremonies that we had at the opening ceremonies.
For those of you watching at home and thinking about the fighting style, so this is a tournament fighting style where we fight tournaments and we use armor to protect ourselves. So this is not quite how you kill a person in armor if you're fighting a medieval knight that's invaded your house. There is quite a different number of techniques that you would use to disable an opponent that sort of historical European martial arts are concerned, but what we're doing is a tournament. sort of
Mostly outlined in King Renee's Book of Tournaments.
yes, quite.
We look to that as a historic guideline, and we have a victor. And Janelle from the United States has won her second match of the day. She is undefeated, and she is going to be difficult to defeat.
You never know. Well, as the SCA say, the bigger they are, the harder, faster, and stronger
They usually hit you. Yes. A little bit of a lull in the action here. Now, this is the third year for the IMCF competition. The first one was in Belmonte, Spain in 2014. Last year was Malbork, Poland. And this year we're in beautiful what's the correct pronunciation?
I would know as much as
Okay, we're in beautiful Portugal. Yeah, I believe it's Montmorovello. It's a beautiful city, very picturesque. We're in a castle on top of a bluff, looking out over the entire Portuguese countryside. For those of you who haven't been to Portugal, and I had not been here before, it's a very beautiful, beautiful country. People are super friendly, very, very nice. We've been very pleased coming here, as we were in our last two spots. Poland proved to be a very nice place to compete, and in Belmonte. Well, we were actually competing at the castle, where if you have seen the movie El Cid, where the jousting sequences were filmed, and that was pretty extraordinary. And here we are in this is an 11th century castle, and it is completely authentic. We like to hold the tournaments at places where it is, a historical site to give the realism that this sport deserves. And we have another fight stacking up here. It looks like we've got Spain versus Canada.
You certainly can't mistake the Spanish banner for anything
No.
else. I do think they win the biggest flag so far
I
competition.
think they do.
Although Germany's got a pretty similar sized one, so I don't know. Maybe there'll be an unofficial bigger flag competition later.
You gotta wonder if they're compensating for something. Our flag is huge. No, we see both fighters here using the scale mail aventails on their helmets. Now, the helmets, most of the armor that they're wearing is 14th century. It seems to work the best for this competition. 14th century, if any of you have ever studied armor, was really fighter armor. And we've broken another weapon.
Third break of the tournament. Or is it fourth now? I'm going to start losing count.
We've broken a few. I think it's three.
So the helmets themselves are made probably from slightly thicker materials than they would have been historically, just because we like to keep our noggins safe. So it's 2.5 millimeter mild steel at minimum, or 2 millimeters hardened steel. The helmets are actually quite early 14th century. It seems that strangely earlier period armor works almost better. Sort of maybe it's that heavy infantry feel that a lot of fighters really like and love. I certainly do, rather than sort of later period 16th century tournament harnesses.
Well, I think the armor of the 14th century was much more fighter armor, where as you move into the 15th century, like if you ever go to the Army Museum, you see the armor. Oh, and the Canadian fighters thrown by the Spaniard.
Meanwhile, we have a women's fight between Portugal and Germany as well going on in the centre, not currently shown, where both fighters are evenly matched and they're playing a nice back and forth game, both scoring a good amount of points. I think the German ladies just getting a few more shots in than the Portuguese fighter. Oh yeah, there we go. Now they've put it up on screen so you can see all the action for yourselves back at home or at work. I know who you are. I'm watching you.
Well, in New Zealand, you're a day ahead, so it could be casual Friday there.
I do believe in New Zealand at the moment it's quite night time. Hi everybody from home, in case you're tuning in, thank you so much. I know who you are, the people that spend all their nights drinking and watching us fight people, and lots of other people throw excellent big parties and just invite their friends and have a few beers and a nice marathon at night. So wherever you are in the world, thank you for watching. We know you try hard, whether you're at work or at home or with a beer or with a baby, it doesn't matter. Come watch
You want to see your
fight.
fighting.
Yes.
Well, in the United States currently, in the East Coast, I believe it's about 6 a.m. And on the West Coast, it would be 3 a.m. So if you're up late or up early and watching us, we definitely thank you for doing that. We've got a full day of competition coming for you. We're going to have the men's and women's poleaxe as we have now, and after that they will be striking these interior lists, and we will be moving into the 5-on-5 melee competition, which is extremely exciting. It's very fast-paced. 5-on-5 is we have more teams in that competition than any other competition, and it is extremely fast. Generally, the first team to lose a man is the one that's going to lose because it goes very quickly.
Sort of snowball effect is quite hard. So yeah, with the group fights, obviously the point is not to score for points, but the person on the ground loses. And so once your fighter is on the ground, the fighter in the team is out, and the point is to get all of the other players out, so to speak. And I think they're going to be using this big wooden box list for the 5-on-5, so they'll have a much bigger area to play around with. And it's a very tactical, very fast, very hard-hitting competition.
Absolutely. And the thought process behind if a third point of contact on the ground, and that can be a knee, a hand, or even if you are falling and you use your axe or something to hold you up, is that in actual medieval combat, if thrusting were allowed and you fell on the ground, the other guy would just stab you, and that would be the end of that. And since we don't do that, we call them out at that point. And we're back on in the center ring. Germany and Portugal. Portuguese fighter coming out much more aggressive in this round.
Yeah, she really wants to win this. This is their home ground. They've been doing so well this entire competition. And the German fighter just unrelenting with those jabs to the helmet. They're trading blows, so it's very close. I hope the marshals are better at counting than we are.
And you can hear the Portuguese crowd cheering.
Or at least we can.
Yes, we can. Portugal, yeah. Go Portugal, Portugal, go Portugal.
I'm sure they would be saying similar things, but in Portuguese, of course.
Yes,
yes. Unfortunately, speak the beautiful language of this country. So both the fighters now playing more tactically as sort of, I think, endurance again comes into play. So again, probing for those weakness of spots. It's very important not to get tired, because obviously once you get your guard down, the other player will just hit you 2-3 times with a big combo, score tons of points. So even if you're tired, you just have to be on that defensive. You just got to get the locked down. You cannot give away free points that you fought so hard in the first half.
No, you cannot. And Spain in the near ring beats Canada. Canada wearing some very attractive new tabards this year with their maple leaf.
It's always quite a striking, bold design.
Yes.
Speaking of tabards, because we don't have a fighters list, and it's very hard to tell who the people are in armor, so personal heraldic devices, the bolder they are, the better, just so you can see somebody from a turret far away while you sort of talk about them, or maybe in a medieval battle have to give them orders, because you just need to know who's where. Otherwise, it begins very, very hard to tell one armored person from another.
It's very difficult. Something that has been suggested is that we start putting names or numbers on our tabards so we can be more easily recognizable, and that is something that is being kicked around and hotly debated, because the historical accuracy people don't like that at all, but the sporting people and sports organizations such as ESPN and other things that would be covering the sports do want that. So the decision will probably be made in the next couple of years on whether we'll be doing that.
Perhaps some sort of a compromise can be reached with the Roman numerals, or
Something, yes. All right, squaring off here, we have Luxembourg and Andrew Dion from the United States. Andrew was very successful in his first fight. This is his second fight.
Again, sort of, he's the American fighter using a spear-type pole weapon, sort of obviously implanted spear, so kind of a hewing spear, whereas the Luxembourg fighter's got something more akin to a Wulge, again with a much sort of longer striking surface, so we'll see how those two weapons square off against each other. I do believe the American fighter has a slight mass and height advantage.
He is Andrew Dion is a big boy.
Big boy versus Luxembourg. The Luxembourg fighter looks very excited and he's up for it, so let's see how this all plays out. Any time now, they can start. Fight for me. Fight.
Okay, Eli's on a little bit of a power trip here. I'm going to scooch a little further away from him. He's before he becomes Caligula.
Oh no, it's quite all right.
You, the little one in the blue hat, fight for me.
He's not little. I'm pretty sure he's a lot.
Well, from
larger
up here,
than-
he looks a little.
Yeah, I know how they look like from down there, buddy.
Yeah.
And they're all big guys and gals.
The Luxembourg team are very athletic, very large, powerful fighters. We have our mistress of the list out center there, waving to us. We're trying to communicate to our mistress of the list that it would be really nice if we got a list of who was fighting, and she sort of looked at us and said, well, Eli, Dale, why don't you guys figure this out yourselves? So we got a guy in the blue and a guy in red, white, and blue, so I'm assuming the blue is Luxembourg because it does have the emblem on the front, and red, white, and blue is the United States of America. Andrew Dion.
Black helmet versus blue and white.
Ooh, swing and a miss. It's like American baseball.
Excellent fast step out. Great reflexes. Obviously, we've been saying how heavy the armor is. Wow, that could have rattled them. I'm sure that made a dent, a big dent. Obviously, Luxembourg fighter is smaller, but he's got a much shorter weapon, so he's really got to just get in there and wail away at our American friend.
Well, he definitely doesn't want to get trapped because he's giving up a great deal of weight and size to Andrew.
So in-out quick combos, I think, is the Luxembourg fighter's plan, and I think he's done quite successfully so far. He's certainly managed to mitigate some of that gap in size and reach advantage. So
Well,
he's very, very quick.
He's using the stick and move strategy, which is what I would employ.
So he's got excellent stance, very fast.
Squaring off. It's coming in with that high guard and then going low. Excellent strategy.
And we've got the women's fight restarting, Portugal versus Germany as well in the center. As they sort of square off against each other too. Obviously, we've been talking about how heavy the armor is, but despite the fact that we're wearing 30 kilos of armor, people move incredibly fast. It's not like the movies where they're slow and ponderous. Maybe after 10 minutes of fighting, but now they will hit you very, very quick.
Now, the thing that's interesting is that if you look at the weight on the armor that the soldier during this time period would wear, and the weight that a modern soldier would wear, it is approximately the same amount.
Absolutely. So, well, actually, the Army hasn't changed. The BBC, or I believe the Guardian, actually, has done a fantastic photo shoot of soldiers' kits through the ages of everything a soldier would carry in campaign, sort of from the Viking age onwards to the modern day. And we actually see that most of the items don't change because what we have is food, utensils, boots, clothes. You know, perhaps the weapons change. Maybe you're not wearing armor, but now you've got a bulletproof vest. But yeah, most of the time, soldiering hasn't changed that much.
No, it really hasn't. And the strategies used by soldiers, you know.
So again, we just have a little bit of lull. Fighters get a little bit of break between their rounds for those of us watching at home, just because you do want a little bit of breather between those big rounds of 1 minute of intensity going down. Both the fighters looking confident, they're looking ready, they're looking at each other from the list. I can feel the tension from up there.
Very much so. A little lull in the action here. I was just signaling to some of my American teammates to bring us some sunscreen.
I do feel my face quite burning. It is getting rather warm in here in an exposed turret on top of a mountain hill.
Top of a mountain hill.
In beautiful sunny Portugal as we are watching the blood sports unfold.
Andrew Dion moving forward against his Luxembourg opponent, using that greater reach advantage.
Yeah, the Luxembourgian just dodging out of those heavy blows. He knows it's his only chance. Yeah, he's very, very quick. Both fighters very skilled. This is a very interesting match because Andrew is getting some of those points in. They are getting through, like that big hit in the first round. But we'll see the Luxembourg fighter is unrelenting. He's jumping in and out. Ooh, hit to the thigh. That's a good point there.
Strong hit. So remember, if you hit him in the legs, if they can't stand, they can't fight. Andrew decides to use size and strength, which is a good move for him. And the Luxembourg fighter slips.
Yeah. Which I think nets our American friend a point, but the marshal is telling him off for something. But it's an unofficial warning, so he has absolutely not felt anything.
Ou seja, 5 contra 5. E após esse combate,
You can just see the decoration fly off. There's 1, 2, 3.
And the fighter from Luxembourg, you're seeing from where we are, I don't know if you can see in the live feed, that his helmet is getting quite dented.
I think we can see it in the feed. It's always very hard with shiny helmets just to sort of
Yes.
keep them shiny really after the first tournament. I do think Andrew took that really away in the last
I
10, 15
think so.
seconds. Those just big hits coming into the head, very strong. And yeah, it's all about combinations. Don't just do the one hit. It's not a tap and go. It's just keep going. If you got the advantage, he really pushed it through.
Okay, you can see the referees are now discussing. They're comparing scores to see if this is done or this will go to a third round. If it is done, you'll see Igor, the head referee in this arena, signal to the fighters to pop their helmets. He's writing down the score now.
Fighters, please report to the lists. Germany and Quebec female fighters.
And it is over.
Please prepare.
Fighters can relax for a bit, but that was the most excellent fight for both fighters. Obviously, another tactical decision that you can take now with fighting is you can take a sacrificial hit and just go forward with your combos like I think Andrew did in the last round. It's showing where he did take a couple of shots on the thighs, but he just concentrated on those head blows, delivering them to the opponent. And I think that's sort of won him because you can tolerate a certain degree of pain and hits on yourself, and you just have to hit the other guy faster than he's hitting you. Faster and stronger, that is, rather.
Absolutely. They're waving to the crowd, and our winner, Andrew Dion from the United States. Good fight against Luxembourg.
Excellent effort by both fighters. Could have gone either way until those very last seconds.
All right, and squaring up in the center ring, we have another American, Janelle Ironside is out there. The young woman who is a elementary school teacher on her honeymoon, choosing to spend it here in Portugal, hitting people with pole axes. I don't know. I went to a sandals resort. I mean, call me kooky, but you know, we went to a tropical sandals resort. She and her husband come here to hit each other with heavy weapons. So, hey, I guess all's fair in love and war. Wasn't it Pat Benatar said, "Love is a battlefield"?
I think it was mine and my girlfriend's big first holiday here, actually, to Battle of Nations together for us as well, which is just a fantastic medieval event. So, you know, for future wifing, there's certainly going to be a lot of medieval stuff.
Well, I actually convinced my girlfriend to come over this year. She's fighting Sword and Shield in women's melee. And she got interested in it from watching things that we did and watching the live feed last year. And when I came home from Poland, she said to me, you know, I can do that. And so we started looking toward it.
Anybody can do it. All it takes is dedication and strength of will.
Absolutely.
Everybody's got that.
Now, a lot of people ask questions about the armor. Who makes it? You know, how much does it cost? And most nations have armors there. Sometimes we do buy things from Eastern Europe or you know, in the European continent, but most of our armor is made in the United States. We have several different armors that do it. I know in New Zealand you have people that do your armor there for you too. And a lot of people make their own armor. The armor that my significant other is wearing was mostly made by us. And we're up. We've got Canada versus the United States.
Nice hit going.
Something that would never happen in the actual world battles, but will happen
here. Hey, Canada won a war against the U.S. They burned down the White House, did they not?
Yeah. It was a long time ago. We don't count that one.
Let's see if they can repeat history today. So far, I saw one good hit from the Canadian, countered by that good hit by the American fighter. Obviously, the American fighter is, you can clearly see, it's sort of about a head taller. Obviously, both of them are having quite a lot of fun fighting. You know. And we do have another fight just next to us with Belgium versus Sweden.
Now, this is Sweden's first year in the tournament here. Very glad to have them.
Absolutely. They've got quite a good team. They're all very exciting in the opening ceremony. You know, fantastic to see them here. And sort of the Canada versus the USA fight continues with a sort of very paced match. Again, the American fighter just tries to get with those big strikes and just keep that distance, play her own game, which she knows she's good at. She's just pushing the advantage. Back to Belgium and Sweden. So,
very even match here. Very even. They're both.
I do believe I know the Belgian fighter. That's Benoit Deville. He's quite a new fighter. He's only been doing this for a couple of years, but he's just one of the most enthusiastic people I know. If you want a pro fight, go talk to that guy.
Talk to him.
Go talk to him. He would love to pro fight. But again, even match with the Poleax.
All right.
Both the fighters are very fit. And
Interesting pole. There's like a lightning bolt design in the Swedes' poleaxe. I've not seen that before.
Yeah, maybe it's to make the head slightly lighter. Obviously, all the weapons have a maximum weight and restrictions, but they also have a minimum weight.
They do.
So you can't cheese your way out of it by having something really light and just
Tapping people. Now they all have to be, and all the weapons and armor has to be historically authentic, and authentication papers, you have to have them available if you're called on it. We had a situation yesterday while we were checking weapons in. A gentleman came with a poleaxe that we thought was not historical, and he presented documents on it, and we said, oh, well, I guess we learned something new today.
Yeah, of course, yeah. If you find something cool from history, you want to do it. Everybody would love to see it, especially if nobody's doing it currently. Yeah. It's an experimental archaeology sport more than anything.
Yes. Well, and a lot of times, because if you visit the Army Museum in France, they have lots of 15th century armor, lots of 16th century armor, and one incomplete suit of 14th century armor because it got used up. You can see the battering that the armor is taking here today. And imagine, your life depends on this. You're going to be swapping this out. And hard hit.
Hard hit by Benno on the Swede. Certainly would have rattled him inside. Swedish fighter being a little bit more defensive now, trying to punch him in the face, trying to recover.
Excellent match here.
Benno was just trying to force him back, step back and hit. And with several combos, so he's just trying to outforce his opponent currently. Just tire him out.
Ooh.
Oh, good response, good counter.
You got to watch when you're moving out of those clinches.
Yeah. So you really have to control the situation. It is not a brawl. The clinch is not a brawl. It is quite a contest of will and balance, and you really need to know when to enter and when to exit it. And if you don't, you're going to get an axe to the head.
And nobody wants that.
No. I mean, it's kind of fun for the first couple, but
you obviously have a different definition of fun than I do. All right.
Back to America versus Canada fight in the middle. While we're chatting away about armor and things.
Yep. Now, we talked earlier about the different styles of helmets. We have two very different style helmets here.
Tash and kettle hat
yes,
with a tournament grill.
It's a kettle hat with a bever that the American fighter is wearing, and then for safety, it has a tournament grill on it, as Eli stated.
It is a very certainly striking helmet for both of them. Both fighters are looking fantastic.
All right, and they have finished round 2.
Yeah, I personally really enjoy going around the museums and seeing all the bits of armor that we use in battle today. We've just been to the Zurich Museum, which has got a Wisby type brigandine, but obviously not used by Wisby peasants.
Right.
So it's got a full 40% brigandine and a great helm, which I saw. And again, it's sort of a little bit surviving. And I saw some Corozinas in Milan and all the Milanese armor. And it was just fantastic to know that these things are quite real.
Yes.
You see it for yourself. It's one thing to see it in pictures or frescoes,
Right.
But you can actually see the living history example, and to me that's always very exciting. So kids, go to museums, they're really fun.
You can learn a lot of great stuff, and then you get to come here. Ooh, and the fight here is going to the 3rd round.
It is very close. Both the fighters just absolutely want to win that. Sweden's first year, everything to play for. Benno loves to pro fight, so he's got certainly the stamina to bear, because pro fights are a slightly different format of fight for those of you that are watching from home that take on plays for an even longer time.
It's a 3-minute round, isn't it? Ooh.
Oh, nice shot to the thigh by the Swede.
Swedish team making a good showing for their first time here.
Absolutely, they're also quite big boys, up for it. Very paced this fight is. So really looking to win it.
Hard body shot.
Something Marshall's
And the Swede is warned for grabbing the opponent's weapon.
Come on, Sweden! Sverige! 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 Sverige!
each other.
It's a very tactical match.
We're into our third round here, so they're both doing very well.
Again, neither opponent wants to give out any free points to the other, so they're just good playing super defensive, trying to push that advantage. Again, very close match. I think they're really trading blows.
And we've completed our third round of fighting. Coaches move in to discuss situations with each fighter. Our referee, Igor, from Quebec, is checking with his referees who have been scoring this fight. Now, if you missed it earlier, the way these fights are scored is each fighter has 2 referees watching them, counting hits scored against them. And at the end of each match, you'll see the referees come together and they'll compare scores, add that all up, and then determine who is winner. Now, normally the referees, because this is a very experienced referee staff, the counting numbers are very, very close. One may have counted 11 blows, the other 10. They're going to a 4th round.
Wow.
This is the second time we've seen this. Very unusual. Usually these are decided in 3 rounds, but these 2 gentlemen are very, very close.
Meanwhile, I think the winner of the contest between the Canadian and the American female fighters have been decided. I do believe it would have went to the American, although it hasn't been announced.
Number 3.
No, they did not.
But I did see her raise her hand in sort of a victorious jubilation.
Yes, yeah, it looks that way.
Canada and Portugal, female fighter, please prepare.
Now this is exhausting. They are now in round 4 on this fight. We'll be watching in just a minute.
Now I think the stamina really comes into play.
Yeah. Well, and I'm surprised that the Swede is wearing finger gauntlets with no finger bucklers on there, because you take a lot of really hard hits to the hand, and we have had people lose fingers in this competition.
Certainly a very brave decision.
Yeah.
Head and your hands are the things that you really aim to protect the most. And if you take a hit on those finger gloves from that axe by Benoit,
it's going to hurt a lot.
Yeah.
Well, and as I always say to everyone, make sure you protect your hands, because I don't know anybody that has anyone who is willing to help them use the bathroom for several months while their hands heal.
Yep, that's certainly quite hard to find. And I saw 4 good hits from the Swede in that first exchange, just straight to the helmet, just tapping through that guard. So I think our Swedish friend is coming out on top here a little bit currently. Just, again, playing it, both fighters trying to play it very safe and just try and get those hits past the guards, combo up. Oh, the axe is stuck in the thigh.
Oh, but he was unable to capitalize on that 2 seconds there.
And you really have to think fast and react, and obviously your reaction time slows down the more axes you get to the head.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which makes this competition quite fun.
It's very difficult. And that's the end of round 4.
I do believe the Swedish fighter had the slight advantage, but again,
I would definitely agree with you, Eli. Definitely agree with you.
Everything is up to the marshals. In them we trust. And in the middle we have Germany versus Quebec.
Quick fighter.
Yeah, quick fighter. So the German fighter is being quite aggressive. She's chasing the Quebecian around the list. And the Quebecian is trying to play a moving defense, stepping around the German lady's blows, trying to get those offline shots in past the guards. It is first round, so they're still both quite fresh and mobile and can sort of afford the extra aggression.
I do like the way the German fighter has her very long hair coming out the back of her helmet.
And certainly very distinctive look.
Yes.
It's very nice, and hopefully you don't get hit at the back, and certainly no one
Lose
pulls
a
in
big
it.
chunk of hair.
And they're again squaring off against each other. A lot of back and forth. Just looking. And I believe our Belgian friend won that.
Yeah, he did. He did.
Which is a surprising event. So he must have blocked all those shots coming into him really quite well.
It's difficult to see from up here because we are about 25 feet above the actual competitive level. Whether shots are being blocked or whether they're getting through. And of course, our marshals are there, and they're scoring it, and that's why they're scoring it, and we aren't.
Yes, absolutely. They're doing a much better job of counting than we do, and obviously if the blow even is blocked slightly or isn't very clean, or the edge alignment of the axe isn't good enough, the blow gets discounted. So while you may land more sort of brute force blows on a person, they might not actually score the relevant points because they just are not what the competition is about. The competition is really about delivering these nice, crisp, clean hits to your opponent past the guard. And Benoit took it away, but I think in the first rounds with his greater aggression.
Yes, yes. And probably had some cleaner shots in the last one.
And now we have the German giant. Is this the German giant?
This is the German.
And he is fighting a Danish giant because they're pretty similar size. And I remember that German guy being rather tall.
Yes. Very distinctive reddish orange and yellow helmet on the German.
Obviously, painted armor is quite an important thing to have. For those of you that have armor yourselves, you will definitely know that keeping the rust of all this metal is very hard. For those of you at home, it is very hard.
It's very hard.
It's very hard. So
that's why the American team is so fond of stainless steel.
Stainless steel is a great material to have. Also, painting or blackening your steel works quite well. Otherwise, just keeping it. And we're back to the fighting in the middle again with round 2 of Quebec versus Germany.
Germany pushing the Quebec fighter here.
But the Quebec fighter's playing that running defense again, pushing herself offline. The German fighter got through and pushed it to the corner. Just chasing her. She's just trying to chase her and pin her down so she can just get those big shots in.
A lot different strategy here than there was in the women's poleaxe last year, where your New Zealand fighter Sophie dominated by pinning people in the corner and beating them senseless.
That's a good strategy.
Yes,
good strat, strong strat.
I was sort of looking forward to her and Janelle squaring off this year, but she was unable to make it. So
perhaps next year we're really quite keen on promoting the women's side of the sport in New Zealand. So we have 3 to 5 female fighters with kit currently, and we're really hoping to get a women's 3-on-3 and several women's 1-on-1s coming to all the European tournaments next year. It's just a question of training and time and money. It is half a world away.
Yes.
So currently, we want to develop the scene with more Australasian and Oceanic communities tournaments, which would just be fantastic. So watch out for more full contact events in Oceania. So hopefully we'll have more interesting things coming your way for those of you and those of us watching from home.
All right, here we go. We've got Germany and Denmark, traditional powerhouses. These are big men. Oh, Denmark scores. Oh, and a mistake from Germany.
Spun
Swing
around.
and a miss. That can cost you the whole tournament.
Yeah, so
oh, but he comes back hard.
Yeah, he's angry now.
And a strong shot to the calf.
Absolutely. I think the Danish fighter is several points ahead from his nice, strong opening. The German fighter just wants to corner him, and he just wants to beat him senseless. I can feel it from his helmet.
I can see the dent that last shot left.
Yeah. Again.
Ooh, nice line change. Low-high on the Danish opponent.
Yeah, maybe going for the throw. No, he retreats. He doesn't want to clinch. They both want to keep that distance and just use their strength and power to their advantage.
German seems a little better at changing lines. You watch him doing a lot of those low strikes, and that's in around 1. I don't know. That was pretty close. Although probably the Denmark fighter scored enough points while the German fighter had his back turned to take that round. But again, it's very hard for Eli and I up here to see what's going on.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, certainly I think he took away the opening, but otherwise there is still a round or 3 to do almost anything you want with the poleaxe tournament. And we're just having again a little bit of a lull while our fighters have a rest. And I think the women's competition looks like it's starting to wrap up. I think that was the last fight of Quebec versus Germany.
It looks like it.
And then we just got another one of these men's pools left, and then hopefully there will be some lunch, because I'm getting quite hungry.
Yep. And we just got some sunscreen up here, and I managed to put some on, and now Eli will be administering some. Thank you to Samantha, who brought us up some sunscreen. And looks like we're ready for round 2 over here. Germany
In
versus
list
Denmark.
number 3, female Canada
Scoring
and
off,
Portugal
Igor, get ready to
fighters,
start them.
please report to the list. List number 3, Canada and Portugal. Please report to the list.
And Igor's holding
Female
the...
German and USA fighters, please prepare.
So perhaps we're going to go to women's playoffs later today.
So they just called 2 women fighters to the list, so we may be moving into that. that phase right now. Oh!
Wow, wow,
Wow!
wow.
And the Dane has gone attack mode.
Bring on the
German.
pain.
That's going to be hard to come back from. Because
Both.
not only are those hits scoring, those hits are knocking you sideways in that helmet.
He really laid into him, yeah.
Yeah, it
The
was
Danes are a
serious.
very strong team, and yeah, I did not want to be on the receiving end of that.
Yeah.
And now he's going to try and throw him, or is he going to smack him some more?
Well, he's pressing his advantage. He knows that his opponent is probably pretty rattled inside of that helmet. And they look to be about equal in size and strength. I think he's probably lost that advantage now. But
I think the German fighter is just trying to maybe play for time and just hoping he won the first round, and then he can come back stronger in the next round. Obviously, if he won the first round, then
they're sort of in survival mode, and that's the end of round 2. So Igor move over and check with his referees.
well, he looks pretty all right.
Yep.
No one's seriously hurt, which is always
No
excellent
body
to see.
fluids dripping out of the bottom of the helmet.
Sometimes happens, but not often, thankfully.
Well, you know what we've really learned in the years that we've been doing this sport is that armor works, or else knights wouldn't have been wearing it. You know, there's a lot of mythology that a sword could cut right through armor. Well, if it could do that, then why would a knight wear it? It wouldn't make any sense. So, you know, the weaponry is stopped by the armor, and you are protected by the armor. However, you're still inside the armor. And when you're getting hit and getting hit hard, you know, all that force goes somewhere, and it's into you. And that's why training is important. Muscle absorbs hits much better than not muscle or fat.
Well, certainly not bone.
Yeah, bones don't absorb hits well. Muscle will definitely help with that.
You want to have a good bone structure and a strong muscle on top
Absolutely.
of that. And it looks like it's going to round 3 with Germany versus
We
Denmark.
have third round here.
No, we're certainly both ready for it. And we've got Portugal versus Canada in the center ring as well in the women's fight. And it's third round with Germany versus Denmark. German fighter has everything to play for. Is he going to bring the vengeance? Is he going to punish his opponent for what he did to him in the second round? I want to know.
Eli getting very dramatic.
It is a dramatic sport. There is
It's a very dramatic
pole axes.
sport. Yeah. We have two giant men hitting each other with pole axes. If you want more drama, you might have to tune into Days of Our Lives or one of those soap operas. Ooh, powerful shots. The Dane is really scoring some jarring blows to the German. Now he's trying to use a strength advantage, and the German's like, I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, and obviously you can't quite bar people by the back of the neck and twist their head, so I think he withdrew from that particular clinch for that reason, where any further moves would have been not quite so legal. Meanwhile, the women's fight is going on. The fighters are squaring up against each other. I think the Portugal fighter has a slight advantage over the Canadian. She's just getting a couple of more of those hits in than her Canadian opponent. Just looking a little bit more active on the field. They're not showing it in the stream, unfortunately, but it's quite exciting.
Now, you may notice, especially on the German fighter, you'll see there's a blue tag hanging off of his weapon where it has been cut. All of those weapons are inspected by marshals before the competition, and when they are certified safe, they are tagged with these bands, which are, if you remove the band, it will tear it and it will be obvious. And then for double safety, the part of the band that links is signed with a ultraviolet marker. So if you were able to remove the band and put it back on, you would break that, and if it looked anywhere, if it had been tampered, we can check the weapon with a UV light, and if the signature is broken, we know that it has been changed and moved to another weapon, and that is an